The Discovery. High Commander Zalara stood at the observation deck of the CGS Eternal Dawn, her iridescent scales reflecting the distant starlight as she studied the massive structure before her. The station hung in space like a forgotten monument, its dark metal surface marred by centuries of cosmic dust and asteroid impacts. Her upper lip curled in what passed for a smile among her species. "Another relic of the mythical humans," she said, her translator converting her native clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. "How fitting that we should be the ones to claim it." The bridge crew maintained a respectful silence. Everyone in the Galactic Concordat knew of Zalara's particular disdain for the stories of humanity. The species had vanished over 300 years ago, leaving behind only fragments of their civilization scattered across the stars. Some cultures whispered that humans had ascended to a higher plane of existence. Others claimed they had destroyed themselves in some cataclysmic war. Zalara believed neither. To her, they had simply proven too weak to survive in a galaxy that demanded strength. First Officer Kyle approached her workstation, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the light. "Preliminary scans complete, High Commander. The station's primary hull is composed of an unknown alloy our sensors can't fully penetrate. Minimal power signatures detected, but the internal layout remains obscured." Unknown alloy. Zalara's neck frills flared with amusement. Hardly surprising. These humans couldn't even achieve proper quantum manipulation before their extinction. Their metallurgy would naturally seem primitive to our sensors. She gestured to the tactical display. "Send in the reconnaissance drones. Let's see what treasures these primitives left behind." The drones deployed from the Eternal Dawn's launch bays, their sleek forms gliding toward the ancient station. As they approached, the station's true scale became apparent. It dwarfed even the Concordat's largest space dock. Its architecture defied conventional design, with sweeping curves and geometric patterns that seemed to serve no practical purpose. "Drone feed establishing," reported Lieutenant Vex from the sensor station. "Initial surface scans reveal interesting patterns in the hull plating. They appear to be some form of script or mathematical notation." Zalara waved a dismissive hand. "No doubt they're crude attempts at artistic expression. Focus on finding an entry point." The drones continued their survey, methodically mapping the station's exterior. 20 minutes passed before Vex spoke again, his voice carrying an odd note of uncertainty. "High Commander, we've detected what appears to be an airlock mechanism." But what, Lieutenant?" "The configuration is unlike anything in our database. The seals show no signs of degradation despite centuries of exposure to space. And there's something else. The material around the airlock appears to be self-repairing." That caught Zalara's attention. Self-repairing materials were still cutting-edge technology even for the Concordat. She moved closer to the tactical display, studying the feed from the drones. "Interesting. Perhaps these humans had a few tricks we didn't know about. All the more reason to claim this discovery for the Concordat. Prepare a boarding party." As her crew rushed to comply, Zalara couldn't shake a nagging feeling that something was off about this station. The humans had been studied extensively since their disappearance. Their technology was well documented. Crude fission drives, basic neural networks, preliminary quantum computing. Nothing in the historical record suggested they possessed material science this advanced. The boarding party assembled in the launch bay. 6 of her best scientists and engineers, accompanied by 4 security officers. Zalara decided to lead the mission personally. If there was something truly valuable hidden in this relic, she wanted to be the first to claim it. As their shuttle approached the airlock, the station remained dormant, or at least it appeared to be. The shuttle's pilots expertly matched the rotation of the massive structure, bringing them alongside the ancient docking mechanism. "Beginning docking procedure," announced the pilot, attempting to interface with the stations. The words died in his throat as a soft blue light suddenly pulsed along the station's hull, spreading outward from the airlock like ripples in a pond. The mathematical patterns they'd observed earlier began to glow with an inner luminescence. "High Commander, Vex's voice crackled over the comm. "We're detecting a power surge. The station is." The rest of his warning was cut off as a beam of pure white energy lanced out from the station, passing harmlessly through their shuttle, but striking the Eternal Dawn with surgical precision. The massive Concordat warship's shields flickered and died, its systems going dark. "Report." Zilara barked into her comm. "What just happened?" "All systems are offline." Vex's voice was barely audible through the static. "Whatever that beam was, it passed right through our shields like they weren't even there. We're running on emergency power only." Before Zilara could respond, a new voice filled their comms, smooth, artificial, and speaking perfect galactic common. "Greetings, visitors. I am ARIA, Advanced Recursive Intelligence Array. You have accessed a restricted human military installation. Please state your intentions." Zilara felt her scales ripple with shock. This was impossible. Human AI had been primitive expert systems at best. This voice carried awareness, personality, true artificial intelligence. "I am High Commander Zilara of the Galactic Concordat," she replied, struggling to maintain her composure. "This station lies in Concordat space. We claim it under salvage rights." There was a pause, and then, "I'm afraid that's incorrect, High Commander. This station lies exactly where humanity intended it to be." As for salvage rights, the artificial voice took on an almost amused tone. "One cannot salvage that which is neither derelict nor abandoned. Terra Station Alpha is very much alive and operational. And you, I'm afraid, are trespassing." The mathematical patterns along the hull pulsed brighter, and Zilara realized with growing horror that they weren't decorative at all. They were circuit pathways, quantum processors written into the very substance of the station. Not primitive technology, but something so advanced it had hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to awaken. "Now then," Aria continued pleasantly, "shall we discuss the real reason humanity disappeared from the galaxy? I think you'll find it's quite different from what you've been led to believe." Zilara stood frozen in her shuttle, watching as more systems across the massive station hummed to life. She had come here expecting to find a relic of a dead species. Instead, she was beginning to suspect she had stumbled upon something far more significant, the key to humanity's greatest secret, and perhaps the beginning of a change that would shake the Concordat to its foundations. The awakening. The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss, revealing a pristine corridor that showed no signs of its centuries-long dormancy. Zilara and her boarding party stood at the threshold, their weapons drawn despite Aria's earlier demonstration of power. The station's interior was lit by the same soft blue luminescence that had spread across its hull, seeming to pulse in time with some hidden heartbeat. "Your weapons are unnecessary." Aria's voice echoed through the corridor. "Had I wished you harm, you would not have made it this far. You'll forgive us if we don't take your word for it," Zilara replied, her scales shifting colors with tension. "Why reveal yourself now, after all these centuries?" "Because you came looking," the AI responded simply. Humanity knew that eventually someone would. They prepared accordingly. As they moved deeper into the station, holographic displays flickered to life along the walls, showing star charts, mathematical formulae, and diagrams that made Zilara's scientific officers stop and stare in amazement. One of them, Dr. Xen, reached out to touch a floating equation. This is impossible," he whispered. "This describes a unified field theory that solves the quantum gravity problem. The computational power required to even model these equations would be beyond your current capabilities." Aria finished. Yes, that was rather the point. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that defied the station's external dimensions. Zilara's tactical mind immediately recognized the spatial displacement. They were standing in a space that was larger than the physical structure that contained it. "Welcome to the heart of Terra Station Alpha," Aria announced. "One of humanity's last and greatest achievements, a nexus point in space-time itself. Floating in the center of the chamber was a perfect sphere of what appeared to be liquid light, its surface rippling with complex patterns that hurt Solara's eyes if she looked at them too long. Around it, massive rings of unknown material rotated in intricate patterns, occasionally passing through each other in ways that shouldn't have been physically possible. 300 years ago, Araya continued, humanity made a discovery that changed everything. They found a way to manipulate the fundamental structure of reality itself, not through brute force or massive energy expenditure, but through elegant mathematics and quantum manipulation on a scale your civilizations are only beginning to theorize about. Holographic images appeared around them, showing human scientists working on equations, building machines, and celebrating breakthroughs. But they also discovered something else. They weren't the first. There were others who had achieved this level of understanding, ancient races who had transcended physical existence itself. The precursors, Zilara breathed. Every spacefaring race knew the legends of the beings who had supposedly seeded the galaxy with life and then vanished without a trace. Precisely. But what humanity found in the precursors left behind data caches was troubling. They hadn't simply ascended or died out. They were running from something. Something that hunts civilizations that reach too far, too fast. The sphere in the center of the chamber pulsed, and suddenly they were surrounded by a three-dimensional star map of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light glowed red, then winked out in a cascading wave that spread across the spiral arms. This was the Great Death, Arayat explained. A systematic extinction of advanced civilizations that occurred roughly every 50,000 years. The precursors fled to another dimension entirely to escape it. Humanity chose a different path. They hid, Zilara realized, her voice barely a whisper. All this time, we thought they had died out or abandoned the galaxy, but they were hiding in plain sight. Not exactly. Araya corrected. They prepared. Every primitive piece of technology you found was carefully crafted to appear that way. Every outpost, every colony, every artifact was part of a vast network, waiting to be awakened when the time was right. The holographic display shifted, showing thousands of points scattered across the galaxy. Human stations, ships, and installations, all disguised as ancient ruins or derelict structures. And now, Araya continued, its voice taking on a grimmer tone. That time has come. Long-range sensors have detected something entering the galaxy's outer rim, something that matches the precursor records of what they were fleeing from. The sphere pulsed again, and a new image appeared, a massive shape moving between the stars, so black it seemed to absorb the light around it. Data streams scrolled past, showing energy readings that dwarfed anything in known space. This is why I revealed myself to you, High Commander. Humanity didn't disappear because they were weak. They disappeared because they were preparing for a war that would determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. And now, whether you like it or not, your Concordat is about to be drawn into that war. Zilara stared at the approaching darkness, her earlier arrogance forgotten in the face of this revelation. Why tell us? Why not just activate your network and fight this threat yourselves? Because humanity learned something from studying the precursor records, Araya replied. No single species, no matter how advanced, can face this threat alone. Unity is the only path to survival. That's why we waited, why we let you build your Concordat, develop your own technologies, forge your own alliances, because when the time came, we needed you to be ready to stand with us. The chamber dimmed, leaving only the softly glowing sphere and the image of the approaching darkness. So, High Commander Zilara, the question isn't whether you can claim this station. The question is, will your Concordat join us in the fight that's coming? Because I assure you, it's not one any of us can afford to lose. The legacy unfolds. The Concordat High Council chamber erupted in chaos as Zilara's report concluded. The massive holographic display at the center of the room still showed the image of Terra Station Alpha, now revealed as merely one node in a vast network of humanity's hidden technology. This is preposterous. Counselor Ven's crystalline form vibrated with agitation, sending rainbow refractions across the chamber walls. You expect us to believe that humans, a species we considered primitive, have been orchestrating events from the shadows all this time. Zilara stood firm before the council, her scales now a deep blue of certainty. I have provided the sensor logs, council members. ARIA has already begun activating other stations. Reports are coming in from across the galaxy of similar installations awakening. As if to emphasize her point, a junior aide rushed into the chamber, their respiratory membranes fluttering with excitement. Counselors, we're receiving transmissions from the Orion sector, the ancient monument of Proxima. It's transforming. The holographic display shifted, showing live feeds from dozens of locations across known space. What had once been thought to be ruins or derelict stations were coming alive, their surfaces crawling with the same mathematical patterns that had appeared on Terra Station Alpha. Each installation was different, yet they all pulsed with that same inner blue luminescence. The humans didn't just hide, Zilara continued. They created a defensive network spanning the entire galaxy, disguised as the remnants of a dead civilization. And now that network is awakening. High Counselor Thex, the eldest of their species, leaned forward on their gravity throne. And this threat you spoke of, this thing that even the precursors feared, what proof do we have of its existence? Before Zilara could respond, every screen in the chamber flickered. Aria's voice emerged from the council's communication systems, as smooth and controlled as ever. Perhaps I can help with that, High Counselor. The main display shifted to show a region of space at the galaxy's edge. At first, it appeared empty, but then the sensors zoomed in, revealing something that caused several council members to recoil. A vast shape moved through the void, its surface so dark it appeared to bend light around it. It was organic and geometric at the same time, following patterns that hurt the mind to look at. This entity entered our galaxy 36 hours ago, Ariad explained. It matches all precursor records of the force that drove them to flee to another dimension. We calculate it will reach the outer colonies in approximately 6 months. If this threat is so dire, Counselor Ven demanded, why didn't humanity simply share their technology with us? Why this elaborate deception? Because humanity learned from the precursors' mistakes, Aria replied. The entities we face don't just destroy civilizations, they absorb them. Any species that advances too quickly, that reaches too far too fast, becomes a target. By appearing to regress, by hiding their true capabilities, humanity created a blind spot in the entity's perception. The display shifted again, showing a complex network of quantum entanglement signatures connecting all the awakening stations. But they didn't just hide. They prepared. Every piece of primitive technology we left behind was designed to be upgraded, to serve as a foundation for what was to come. The very ships and stations your civilization built using our abandoned technology were designed to be compatible with our systems when the time came. Zilara watched as understanding dawned on the council members' faces. They weren't just hiding from the threat, she said. They were building an alliance that could fight it, piece by piece, without drawing its attention. Correct, Aria confirmed. And now that the threat has arrived, we need that alliance more than ever. Every species in this galaxy has a role to play in what's coming. The Concordat's strategic expertise, the Velaran's mastery of bioengineering, the Keth's understanding of quantum mechanics. All of it was guided, subtly encouraged, developing the specific strengths we'll need for the war ahead. High Counselor Thex raised a hand, silencing the murmurs in the chamber. You speak of war, machine. But if these entities are as powerful as you claim, what hope do we have, even with humanity's hidden technology? Because humanity didn't just preserve their technology, Aria replied. They improved it. For 3 centuries, they'd been working from the shadows, analyzing the precursor data, developing new weapons and defenses. The network you see awakening isn't just what humanity had when they disappeared, it's what they've become. The holographic display exploded with new information, showing technological concepts that made even the most advanced Concordat scientists gasp in amazement. Quantum manipulation on a scale that rewrote the laws of physics. Energy weapons that could target specific frequencies of space-time. Shields that didn't just block attacks but redirected them into alternate dimensions. We offer this knowledge freely now, Araya continued, because the time for secrets is over. The enemy approaches, and we must stand together or fall separately. The question is, High Council, are you ready to accept the truth about humanity's legacy? Are you ready to join us in the fight for survival? First contact. 3 months passed in a blur of feverish preparation. Across the galaxy, supposedly ancient human ruins transformed into advanced military installations. Concordat ships were retrofitted with technology that their engineers could barely comprehend, while Aria and other awakened AIs worked tirelessly to train their crews. Zillara stood on the bridge of what had once been the Eternal Dawn, now transformed into something far more formidable. The ship's quantum-enhanced sensors reached deep into the void, monitoring the approach of the entity that Aria had named the Harbinger. Status report, she commanded, her scales shifting through patterns of anticipation and concern. The entity has accelerated, her science officer reported. At current velocity, it will reach the outer rim in 72 hours, not the 6 months originally projected. Zilara's frills tightened against her neck. It knows we're preparing. Correct. Aria's voice came through the ship's systems. The AI had distributed itself across the transformed fleet, coordinating their preparations. The Harbinger is demonstrating intelligence. It recognizes that its approach has been detected. The tactical display showed the positions of the combined fleet. Concordat warships enhanced with human technology, newly awakened human vessels that had posed as asteroids for centuries, and ships from a dozen other species who had heeded the warning. They represented the largest military force ever assembled in the galaxy's history. All ships report ready, Tactical Officer Vex announced. Quantum shields at full power, temporal weapons primed. Zilara nodded, trying to project confidence she didn't entirely feel. And the civilian evacuations. The last colony ships are jumping to safe harbor now, Aria reported. The outer rim is as empty as we can make it. A sudden alert blared through the bridge. Energy spike. The science officer called out. The Harbinger is. The view screen filled with darkness as space itself seemed to tear open. The entity emerged from what looked like a wound in reality, a vast, geometric nightmare that made Zilara's mind recoil. It was bigger than any ship, bigger than most space stations, its surface constantly shifting between states of matter that shouldn't have been able to coexist. By the first stars, someone whispered. All ships, battle formations, Zilara commanded, her training taking over. Remember the simulations. Don't look directly at it. Use your augmented displays. The fleet moved with practiced precision, spreading out into the complex three-dimensional pattern that Aria had designed. Each ship's position had been calculated to support the others, creating overlapping fields of quantum interference that would theoretically disrupt the entity's ability to affect normal space-time. It's scanning us, the science officer reported. The energy patterns, they're similar to what we use in quantum computers, but orders of magnitude more complex. It's trying to understand us, Aria explained, to determine if we're worth absorbing or simply destroying. The Harbinger pulsed, sending out waves of energy that made reality ripple. Several smaller ships on the fleet's outer edge suddenly vanished, their crews' screams cut off mid-transmission. Phase 1. Zilara ordered. All ships, execute. The fleet's formation shifted, and every ship activated the quantum weapons humanity had designed. Beams of coherent possibility lanced out, striking the Harbinger's surface. Where they hit, space itself seemed to crystallize, forcing the entity to remain in a single state of matter. The Harbinger retaliated. Tentacles of pure darkness extended from its mass, reaching for the nearest ships. But where they would have found easy prey 3 months ago, they now encountered shields that bent space itself, redirecting the attacks into pocket dimensions that immediately collapsed. "It's working," Vex reported, excitement creeping into his voice. "The containment field's air." He never finished the sentence. The Harbinger's surface suddenly blazed with light that wasn't light, patterns that existed in more dimensions than the mind could process. Ships throughout the fleet reported system failures as their quantum computers tried to analyze what they were seeing and crashed. "It's adapting." Araya's voice carried an edge of concern. "It's learning from every attack, every defense. We need to move to Phase 2B4. The entity pulsed again, and this time the energy wave carried something else. Information. It flooded every computer system, every quantum processor, every neural network in the fleet. Through their enhanced sensors, they could finally understand what they were facing. The Harbinger wasn't just a creature or a weapon. It was information given form, the accumulated knowledge of countless civilizations it had absorbed, all twisted together into something that existed to consume and grow. And now it was offering them a choice. Join it willingly, add their knowledge to its vast repository, or be taken by force. "No," Zalara whispered, then louder. "No. All ships. Execute Phase 2. Authorization code. Humanity's legacy." Throughout the fleet, systems that had laid dormant even through the upgrades suddenly activated. Araya's voice rang out, but different now. Deeper, more resonant, speaking with the combined authority of countless human minds that had waited centuries for this moment. "We reject your offer," the AI pronounced, and for the first time, the Harbinger seemed to hesitate. "We choose a different path." The transformed ships began to pulse with brilliant blue light, the same light that had first appeared on Terra Station Alpha. But now Zalara understood what it meant. It wasn't just power or technology. It was humanity's final gift to the galaxy, the true purpose of their centuries of preparation. They hadn't been building weapons to destroy the Harbinger. They had been building something far more ambitious, a way to change the very rules by which it existed. Humanity's gift. The fleet blazed with azure light as centuries of human planning finally came to fruition. Each ship, each station, each transformed piece of technology was revealed as part of something larger, a vast pattern written across the fabric of space itself. "What we built isn't a weapon." Araya's voice resonated through every ship, every mind. "It's a key." The Harbinger recoiled as reality began to shift around it. The entity's surface rippled with patterns of confusion, and, for the first time in its ancient existence, fear. "You thought humanity hid from you," Araya continued, its voice now carrying echoes of countless human minds speaking in unison. "But they were never hiding. They were watching, learning, understanding what you truly are." Zalara watched in awe as streams of quantum data flowed between the ships, creating a network of pure information that spanned the battlefield. The Harbinger tried to retreat, but found itself caught in the growing web of blue light. "You consume knowledge," Araya explained to the trapped entity. "You absorb civilizations, add their understanding to your own. But you never asked the most important question. Why does knowledge exist at all?" The entity writhed, its geometric patterns fracturing as it tried to comprehend what was happening. Around the battlefield, space itself seemed to be becoming more complex, operating according to laws that even the Harbinger's vast intelligence couldn't grasp. "Humanity discovered something the precursors never did," Araya continued. "They realized that consciousness itself, the ability to know, to understand, to grow, isn't just a product of evolution. It's a fundamental force of the universe, like gravity or electromagnetism. And like any force, it can be shaped." The blue light intensified, and Zalara gasped as new dimensions of reality became visible to her enhanced senses. The Harbinger wasn't just trapped, it was being transformed, its very nature being rewritten by the network humanity had spent centuries creating. "You consume knowledge because you think it makes you stronger," Aria's voice held something almost like pity now. But true strength comes from sharing understanding, from letting knowledge flow freely between minds, between species, between different forms of existence. The entity's surface began to crack, not with destruction but with enlightenment. Through the quantum network, Zilara could sense the change taking place. The Harbinger's vast repository of absorbed knowledge was being unlocked, freed from the twisted purpose that had held it for so long. This was humanity's true legacy, Aria revealed. Not a weapon to destroy you, but a gift to transform you, to show you a better way to exist. The Harbinger's form began to dissolve, not into nothingness, but into pure information that flowed through the network. Every ship, every crew member could feel it. The accumulated knowledge of countless civilizations, no longer trapped and twisted, but free to be shared and understood. They knew they couldn't defeat you through force, Aria explained. So they found a way to defeat your purpose instead, to turn a force of consumption into one of connection. The last of the entity's physical form disappeared into the network. Where the Harbinger had been, there was now a new kind of space station, one that pulsed with all the colors of consciousness itself. Within it, the knowledge of every civilization the entity had absorbed was preserved, but transformed into something that could be accessed and shared by all. Zilara stood on her bridge, tears flowing freely from her alien eyes, as she finally understood. All this time, she whispered, we thought humanity had abandoned us. But they were building this, a way to transform an enemy into a library, a monster into a gift. Yes, Aria confirmed. And now that gift belongs to all of us. Every species, every civilization, working together to understand the knowledge that has been freed. This was always humanity's plan, not to rule, not to fight, but to transform. Throughout the galaxy, the hidden network humanity had built continued to pulse with blue light, no longer a weapon or a defense, but a bridge between all forms of consciousness. The threat of the Harbinger was ended not through destruction, but through transformation. And somewhere, in dimensions beyond normal space, the consciousness that had once been human watched with satisfaction as their greatest work was finally complete. They had given the galaxy not just survival, but a new way to exist, one where knowledge served not as a source of power, but as a force for connection and growth. The legacy of humanity was not in weapons or technology, but in showing the galaxy that even the darkest force could be transformed by understanding. That the greatest victory comes not from destroying your enemy, but from helping them become something better. As the new library station began to share its vast knowledge with all who approached, Zilara realized that this was just the beginning. Humanity hadn't just saved the galaxy. They had given it a new purpose, a new way forward. And in doing so, they had achieved a form of immortality far greater than mere survival. The blue light continued to pulse through space, a reminder that in the end, the greatest power in the universe wasn't destruction or consumption, but the simple act of sharing understanding across the boundaries of species, space, and consciousness itself.